and welcome to the Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentile podcast. I am your host, Chris Katolka, and with me is none other than the Jewish sage himself, the one, the only Mr. Steve Herzig. How are you, sir?
I'm dying, Chris.
Why are you dying? What's going on?
Every bone in my body hurts.
You have, what's the word? You're barking.
I'm barking.
You are tell me, why are you barking right now?
I'm barking because I took this trip 6 weeks after I had surgery, and I've been trying to keep up with everybody, and my body is saying, you're out of your mind.
Well, for those who are just tuning in right now, and maybe you are listening for the first time and you're wondering, well, what surgery did he have? You know, it wasn't a minor surgery. You had an entire hip replaced.
That is correct.
And now you are traversing the land of Israel.
We're going all over the place, and when I get home, or I should say when I get back to the hotel, I put my leg up and I go, ay, vase.
Well, we have an awesome audience with us. Hello, audience. There we go. Steve, you and I are actually just on the edge of the Sea of Galilee right now, which
Correct.
is absolutely amazing. We're in an amazing kibbutz called Kibbutz and Gentile. Pretty nice place, huh, guys? A great place. Kibbutz and Gentile is a resort right on the Sea of Galilee on the eastern side. So we get to see the sunsets and all the beautiful sights and everything. But we're here with a group of ministry leaders from all over the United States, and it's been a joy to have them with us.
A wonderful time. Chris, do you know what I learned on this trip?
What's that?
From our guide? The sun always sets in the west in Israel.
That's right. It's true.
That was knowledge.
That's one of my friends came up to me and said, Chris, why don't I ever see the moon at night? And I said, it's because it's behind you, rising. That's why you don't see it. But we've had a great time, ministry leaders, and you're going to hear from some of them if they're brave enough to come up and share. We've even got a Chick-fil-A owner-operator. I think that's part ministry, right? That's got to be.
Absolutely. It's a ministry to minister to the public.
That's right.
In a restaurant.
That's right.
A fast food restaurant,
That's
I might
right.
add.
We've got a CEO of an amazing website that is teaching Christians about what's going on prophetically. It's called Harbinger's Daily, a very biblically minded resource for the events that are going on in the world.
She's a CEO, and I don't think she's anywhere near 30.
That's right, exactly.
Now that is impressive.
It's very impressive. So we're going to share with you.
I'm not even an OEC, let alone a CEO.
Okay, well, you're a VP. You made it, but it only took you till what?
Yeah, I was 100 years old when I got it.
So we got a great show for you. We want to highlight some of the places that we've been in Israel with these ministry leaders.
Start off with the plane ride, Chris.
What about the plane?
Well, it takes a long time to get here.
It takes, well, for some people, it took even longer because they had to leave their homes and fly all the way to
Well, we all had to leave our homes.
But you drove. You drove 40 minutes.
Yes.
Some people had to get on a plane. I know some people got on the plane at 3 a.m.
All the way from Washington State.
That's right. Some from Dallas who went to L.A. and L.A. to Tel Aviv. We went from Newark to Tel Aviv, Newark, New Jersey to Tel Aviv.
And then we start touring right away.
Why would you waste time?
I don't know.
That's right. We landed in Tel Aviv, and then we got to work right away, and we started looking at some great biblical sites. But the passion that Steve and I have had is to make sure that people who are ministering to others in various capacities, ministry leaders, are able to see the land of Israel, because we really believe if you see the land of Israel, it's going to change the way that you interact with the Bible and the way that you preach the Bible and teach the Bible. So that's the reason we have great ministry leaders here with us.
And this is, for most of them, it's their very first time being here.
That's right.
And that's exciting for you and me to be able to see Israel through first-time people's eyes is just fantastic.
You know, people always ask me all the time, don't you get tired of seeing all these sites? I never get tired, because every time that we do it, it's just seeing it, like you said, for the first time through people's eyes who are just seeing it for that first moment, and you get the same feeling they get. So
exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm really excited to let you know as well is that the resort that we're staying at right now is actually a resort, Steve, that's not that far from the northern border of Israel. You and I and our amazing team here just took a bus yesterday, and we went past some very significant cities in Israel. One of them, Kiryat Shmona, which is right on the border of Lebanon and Israel. that's taken a lot of rocket fire, and a lot of displaced Israelis that were living in the north have had to evacuate their homes since October 8th.
Over
2023.
480 days.
That's right. And they're living actually here in the very area that we're staying in. So we're actually getting a chance to hang out with Israelis, which is great. We hear their stories, we hear what's going on, and I think we might even be able to get to speak to one. Are we going to be able to, who are we talking to? Do we know? Oh, in a few minutes. Oh, fantastic. Okay. She's like our producer. Yeah, we've never had one. This is amazing.
They had one.
They're coming. Okay, great. Well, Steve, what has been the highlight for you? And then I want to ask somebody from the group, what's been the highlight of the trip for you so far?
Oh, the highlight of the trip for me is, as I already said, watching people see Israel for the first time every single place we've gone. And I've heard from several of them, not directly talking to me, but just listening, saying, this trip is amazing. And I love to hear that. I'm glad they're, it's not me coming up to them and saying, so how's the trip? This is them talking amongst each other. They didn't know that I might have been listening, which I do. But it's great to hear because we want them to go back energized about what they've seen. And in fact, Chris, Equip is the sponsor of the Jew and the Gentile podcast, the Friends of Israel Jew and Gentile podcast. It's also really the sponsor of this trip, this first-time trip. We've been able to help them get here through donors that we have who really believe, as we do, that bringing leaders who are young, who have a ministry, can be impacted and thus impact the people they influence.
That's right. And you know what? We have a Yiddish word of the day. And we just wrapped up our January class with Dr. Mike Stollard, and we have our February class for FOI Equip coming up, which is a Yiddish study,
a Yiddish journey. So funny.
That's right. We've got the Bergs from Pittsburgh. Are going to be teaching all about the journey, a Yiddish journey, the history of Yiddish, the significance of Yiddish. And so, if you want to learn about Yiddish, because we do a Yiddish word all the time. I love Yiddish words. Shlemiel, Shlemaz, and the whole thing.
Shlemaz, that's a new one. Is that like Lamaz for...
I think it's a Lamaz and a Shlemaz at the same time. Okay. That's right. Well, if you want to learn all of those things, we want you to come to the Bergs class, the Yiddish Journey. You can do that by registering at foiequip.org. Steve, it's free.
It's free. But we have to warn people ahead of time about this couple. I feel I have to.
Okay.
because one cannot say a complete sentence.
This couple, that's right.
That's right. One will start off and the other will finish.
That's right. And they'll say, your turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Your turn.
And they're so funny to me, and they've served the Lord for over 40 years together.
Yep.
They've been in ministry, and they are so low-key, and yet so many people have been impacted by their ministry, including this one where Arlene simply started a Yiddish class and has gotten Jewish people to come and Gentile people to come, and it's enhanced their ministry. The idea of a Gentile who knows and familiar with Yiddish words has become a very powerful tool in just building relationships in the community. I think it's exciting.
100%. Well, you didn't ask me what my favorite moment was.
Tell me anyway.
All right. So my favorite moment was we were on a boat in the Sea of Galilee today. And we're going around the Sea of Galilee, and we begin to dock, and none other than Neil Diamond comes on, Sweet Caroline. How about that? We're on the Sea of Galilee, and Sweet Caroline comes on at the very end. What do you think of that?
Well, if you bring that up, then I'm going to share something else. Can you top this?
Okay.
And that's where you gave the devotional on the boat. And here's what you said. You said, this is such a great place. It speaks for itself. I'm only going to read the text and let it stand by itself, and sometimes not saying things is actually better than saying too much.
I felt really good about saying that.
So you read the text and then talked for 15 minutes.
That's right.
Am I right? So I went up to Chris and I said, you have followed the long line, including me, of Friends of Israel staff who have said those very same things from a pulpit and then end up talking too much.
I love it. Hey, I think we have our guest. Fantastic. Can we get 2 chairs?
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. What a gift.
Welcome.
Come on, come sit down. Hello, how are you? This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Have a seat.
Oh, this is great.
This is on the spot. We don't even know who we're talking to.
I know.
We will learn who we're talking to.
Yeah, come sit down next to me if you don't mind. Excellent. Hi, how are you? I'm Chris.
And I'm Steve.
Adrian, very nice to meet you.
Hi.
And you are on the Jew and the Gentile podcast. So you are
Hilton.
Hilson?
Hilton.
Hilton.
Oh,
like the hotel.
Like the hotel, but my hotel's got 6 stars.
That's great.
well, listen, we wanted to chat with you because we feel very honored to be able to be with the Israelis who are displaced right now to really we don't want to be separated from the reality. If you go on a tour, you can easily just disengage from the reality of what's going on. We really wanted to plant ourselves here so that we can feel and be present so that you know that you're loved by others, especially Americans and our Canadian friends as well. And so we want to hear where did you live and how long have you been down here displaced from the events going on in the north?
Okay, so my name's Adrian, and Hilton, my husband, and myself, we made Aliyah. That means we came to Israel about 36 years ago. And
From where?
From South Africa.
Amazing.
And we arrived in Israel. We wanted to choose a kibbutz because that lifestyle appealed to us. And we chose Mayam Baruch, which is on the Lebanese border. I've since learned how close we are to the Lebanese border, 500 meters. Anyway, we've been living on Mayam Baruch for many, many years. We came with 2 children, and we had a 3rd child born in Israel. And over the years, there have been, I'll call them mini wars with our neighbors across the border. I'm referring to Lebanon. And there have been skirmishes, and we've had to spend many a night sleeping in the bomb shelters. But this time, as you all know, on the 7th of October, what happened down south, there was great fear that the same thing would be repeated up north and that we would be attacked by Lebanon the very next day. So we immediately left the kibbutz on the 8th of October, which was the Sunday, and we went to good friends of ours who lived near Tzfat. At that stage, Tzfat was quiet. We then traveled down south, not to the Gazan border, but to our married daughter, and stayed with her for a few days. And then we heard that there was an official evacuation of all the members of the kibbutzim and the nearest city to us, which is Kiryat Shmona. So we then went to a hotel which is just up the road from here, 10 minutes away, called Cana Hotel, also overlooking the lake, the Sea of Galilee and Lake Kinneret. And our daughter-in-law was here with her children, our grandchildren, and we wanted to follow and be with them because our son was guarding on the kibbutz. We have 2 sons, and both of them were called up to be what's called in Hebrew, Kitat Konanut. They are the immediate responders if anything would go wrong. The rockets from Lebanon, I'm sure you all know, never stopped falling. Fortunately, only 1 rocket fell on our kibbutz, and the unfortunate thing is it damaged our son's house, and the damage has not yet been repaired. Our house is still standing, and we then came to Ein Gev Hotel, and it's ironical to say, but it's like home. It feels like home. The care and the love that the staff provide us with is unbelievable.
How many are there of you here from up
From
there?
our kibbutz, there are about, I think, 20 people, our age and younger families. The younger families have, after a couple of months, I think it was after the school year ended, the last school year, which ended in June, the young families decided that living in a hotel room no matter which hotel it was, even the Hilton with 6 stars, could not accommodate a family of 5. So many, many young families have found alternative accommodation, renting apartments, renting flats, and they've moved all over. We all dispersed. We are a dispersed community. I'm talking about our kibbutz.
Now, I have to ask you, just for our listeners, and we joke we have 7 listeners, they all want to know, if you've down here over 450 days, does the state of Israel help you? How are you living day to day outside? For any of us visiting, we're just gone 10 days from our home, and just being gone 10 days, things get mashugana, they get crazy. So can you give us, maybe Hilton could share a little bit.
How we manage. Look, we get on very well here. We pass the time very well. We do whatever, can't say we do whatever we want. They've organized a lot of
Activities for you?
activities for everybody, depending, women, men, doesn't matter. Yoga.
Hilton, I'd like to see you do a little yoga.
No, I didn't.
You must kill it.
No, I don't do the yoga. I do the other fitness training. And there's all a lot of things, and also a lot of trips is organized.
Okay.
And all this is free of charge.
Wow.
No, we've never been asked to pay for it. Organizations and like Kiryat Shmona offers to pay, and they do the paying, and we just take part.
You do the living. They do the paying, you do the living.
We do the living.
But to answer your question, the government, the state is paying for all the evacuees to stay in the hotels.
That's great. So that part is lower stress for you.
It's lower stress for us, but on the other hand, it might be wonderful staying in a hotel, but when you've been here for a year and 4 months, 5 months, we just long to go home, and I long to be in my kitchen again and cook again and bake brownies for my children and grandchildren. During the war, we did go up from time to time at great risk. We went home just to see how things were, and it was always very, very stressful going up there, the roads. We never knew if a rocket would fall and hit our car. And we would just go into the house to get the necessities, change of winter to summer, summer back to winter, clothing, but we never ever stayed more than a few hours.
I have to ask you, since we are a Christian or evangelical Christian organization, and we've been praying. In fact, we're called the Friends of Israel, and we were called the Friends of Israel before there was an Israel. We were started in 1938. And so the believers back then knew and believed that Israel would become a nation, even back then when Kristallnacht took place. And so we've been praying for the Jewish people and for Israel all that time. But it's such a privilege to have both of you. Can you share with us what we can pray for you as a couple, as a nation? What request would you have our listeners and us pray for you?
Well, I just want to say, Moran called us, really, we were halfway into bed. And we had a very busy day today because the hotel requested that we move rooms, so it was like a major
No
move.
problem. I know I caught you off guard, but there'll be people praying for you. Right. I thought maybe you'd have
No, they don't have to pray for that, but they have. First of all, I just want to thank you all for your love and support, and the fact that you are in Israel. And are you all non-Jews?
No, I'm Jewish, but I'm the only one that's Jewish.
Okay, so I find it so moving that both Jews and non-Jews visit Israel and come and support us during these very trying times. And I know we have family all over the world, and some of them are very reluctant to come during these trying times. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of you for coming and supporting and giving us this love, and just continue praying for peace in Israel, and that we'll all be returning home soon and continuing with the normal life.
Can I add one thing? I just want to give a little context to the American and the Canadian or wherever somebody else is living about your circumstances, because as Americans, when something happens with war, it's very removed from us. It's separated from us in many, many ways. But it's hard for people to get their mind wrapped around that you're only about an hour and a half from your home right now.
An hour.
You're 1 hour from your home.
Chris, that's my commute time.
Yeah, your commute to work. For some of the hostages, their families are, we're talking maybe a few miles.
40 miles, 30 miles away.
So when we think about hostages or prisoners of war or whatever for America, it's on the other side of the world. But for Israelis, they can almost, you can taste it. It's right there. You can drive home. But again, it's too dangerous. I don't know if you want to speak at all into the context of, what it means to be, you're still close. You're not far away from the catastrophe of what's going on.
Well, it's exactly as you describe it. I mean, during the war, we were an hour away from home, and here we were in our safe little bubble. We hardly heard any rockets. And the moment we would go home, I mentioned earlier that we did visit during the war a couple of times, and, we would hear boom, and we realized how close we are, how our real home is so close to the border. So here we were very insulated, and there were attacks coming across from Yemen and from Syria and from Iran, but by and large we were really safe and we felt very secure here, and the distance was an hour away. And to join the prayers to bring home all the hostages.
Today there were 3 more. Yeah, it's wonderful.
We have been glued to our TV on and off. It's a miracle that they come home, and every time we see them get out of the Hamas van and into the Red Cross van, the tears don't stop pouring, and I think we're going to have a lot of sad news as well. But everybody has to come home, and that's where our prayers are. As well.
We join you in those prayers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to go to the Hilton's 6-star hotel.
I'm ready.
I hear there's brownies there. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Give him a hand.
Yes. Thank you. All right, well, Steve, I want to bring up one of our ministry leaders to share about their experience. I think it'd be great to hear from them.
Bring them both up.
Yeah, that's great. Go ahead and call them up, Steve. Come on up, Canadians. Let's go.
Tiana, have a seat over there and over here, and we'll put the mic near your mouth so Chris, introduce our guests.
Yeah, we have Brianna and Tiana from Canada, and they're on our ministry leaders trip. And we invited, number one, Tiana is an intern with the Friends of Israel who will be serving with the Friends of Israel soon.
A tight-skinned person, I might
That's a tight-skinned person, and she does.
As opposed to wrinkly.
Well, you've got tight skin. You look great. But Tiana does an amazing job of engaging the church in Canada with the events that are happening in Israel and connecting the Jewish community with the Christian community. Just amazing things that she's doing in Canada. And she brought along her friend Brianna, who serves as, is the title CEO the right title?
I am the editor-in-chief and the president of Harbinger's Daily News Media.
Okay, so we're giving away another...
Never forget that, Chris.
That's right. We're giving away another free gift here, which means if you go to harbingersdaily.com, is that right? You can get amazing news from a biblical perspective about what's going on around the world and in Israel, and you can even find the Jew and Gentile podcast on Harbinger's Daily.
Israel.
On,
That's right.
yeah, on Harbingers Daily and our video network, Harbingers TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to share with our listeners, number one, how did you start Harbingers Daily? Maybe there's people who listen who already get the go to your website. How did you start that? And then also, I'd like to know, Brianna, this is your first time to Israel, and you've been an avid supporter of Israel and the Jewish people for a very long time. And I'm interested to know, what it's like to be here now, because I think you've been doing Harbingers Daily for 10 years and supporting Israel and the Jewish people, something that's been your heart for a long time, but this is your first time here. So maybe how'd you get it started and what's it feel like being here?
Well, being here in Israel, I think the shock to me was how lush everything is in Israel. Like, you hear the account from Mark Twain in the 1800s in his book, after when he traveled through the land, and just how desolate it was. He said, even cactuses, which are fast friends of worthless soil, doesn't grow here. And then to see it now, where it's so lush, it's so green everywhere you look. I mean, that's a direct fulfillment of biblical prophecy in Ezekiel 36 and 37. And I find it incredible to be in a place where you're witnessing prophecy fulfilled before your eyes.
How did you get what brought to mind your website? Like, how did you even get started to create such a beautiful layout, the way people approach the website? It feels, it's very, very, everything's very well done. So I'm interested, how did you go from the beginning to where you are now?
Well, I appreciate that. So we started in 2014 as a social media-based ministry, and it was the same mission that we're doing today. It was trying to explain to people how world news applies to the Bible, and where, within Bible prophecy as well, what are precursors to what we're seeing that the Bible says is going to take place in the future. And it was also about pointing people to pastors and ministry leaders that were teaching soundly, because when we wanted it as a witnessing tool, because when you talk to somebody about Bible prophecy or any of these kind of topics, you're just kind of throwing them to the wolves of the internet when you just leave them from that point and aren't able to show them recommendations of pastors that are actually talking about these things properly and teaching the entire counsel of God, which includes Bible prophecy and teaching about Israel. Mm-hmm. So, and we started working with ministries such as Jan Markell's Olive Tree Ministries from that point, and then we became a fully operational news organization in 2019, so 5 years ago. And
what does that exactly mean? A fully operational news organization? That sounds very official.
Yeah, well,
way more official than this podcast.
Well, we have about, I think it's 90 or so writers and contributors at this point. We work with ministries across the globe, primarily in the United States and Israel, to bring a full biblical analysis of the news that they're looking at. And we have a large percentage of those writers are pastors and ministry leaders, which provides a very interesting perspective on the news. Because, you're not going to get that from many news organizations where it's all filtered through a biblical worldview. It all has that biblical explanation and it's sound biblical teaching with it. And we have a trusted ministries list, which shows all of these different ministries that we work with that are doing such a sound job, that are getting it right, that are writing articles that they can read about the news, that are producing podcasts and videos and sermons and that kind of stuff that is really edifying to people.
How did Friends of Israel get in there?
Well, I went to a conference that Jan Markell's ministry representatives were there in Southern Ontario. That's Ken Michael and Josh Schwartz. And Robert Gottslig, the executive director of Friends of Israel Canada, was there, and I met him and talked with him for quite a while. And then I met Tiana later that month at our local church, Calvary Chapel, London, and she told me that she works with the ministry, and I was like, oh, I think I just talked to somebody from there. And so it was really interesting how the two of us met with regard to that.
It's honestly the Lord's timing.
Yeah.
Realizing that we had all these common interests and common ministries, and the fact that you had just met Rob too was just totally the Lord's timing. So it was really amazing.
Yeah.
I'm interested when you're thinking about the website and the content that goes on it. What do you really want to communicate to the reader or to the listener? Because I know that you have so many various ways that you can approach news. So what do you think about what I want to present that day, or is it something that you think weekly? How do you process what you're going to put out there?
Well, I think it's a big part about is showing the relevancy of the Bible through the news. Like you hear about what's going on in Israel and how Israel in itself is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, and first Christians need to have an understanding of that. But then you take into it the current situation that Israel's in and alliances forming between like Russia, Iran, and Turkey, and how that applies to the Bible, where, in Ezekiel 38, you read about this coalition of nations that's going to come from Israel's north and try to attempt an attack on Israel that God ultimately thwarts. Yeah, but it's showing the relevance of the Bible, and it's also in issues that are deemed political. So it's not just on news events like that, it's cultural events, like getting Christians to understand what the Bible has to say about abortion, what it has to say about a marriage and God's definition of it, what it has to say about gender and these stands that we're supposed to be taking. And there's so many churches that just blanket say this is political, this isn't something, it's a cause of division, it's a point of division.
How many staff do you have?
Well, we have, like I said, quite a few writers and contributors, and then we have some editors and people that work on graphics and stuff like that. And I handle all of the fields as well myself in various areas.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I really enjoyed what you were saying earlier. Like, you're tackling some serious, contentious issues in the culture that we live in today. And I do know that there are a lot of people that don't want to touch the issues that you talked about with a 10-foot pole. Do you get a lot of pushback in the things that you share? I'm interested to know, what kind of words do you get on social media, and how do you stay encouraged through all that?
Well, it's funny. We receive emails that we've gotten very like anti-Semitic emails and things like that in the past. And, but the only people that complain about the fact that we don't have a comment section is people that are like ready to put up the meanest stuff on there, and they write it within the email too. And it's like, we want the entire portion of Harbinger's Daily to be edifying to the person that's coming to it. And, but I don't know that it affects me too much, other than being sad for that individual when we get pushback on these things, because we're trying to open people's eyes to why the church should love Israel, and why the church should stand with the unborn, and why they, so I'm sad for them when they reach out to us and so angry about these things, and we pray for them to have an understanding of it.
Tiana, I have to ask you, you're still in college.
That's right.
And tell us how you got involved with Friends of Israel. I know you're working with Chris Katulka as an intern, and now under Rob Gottslig, who is the director of the Canadian work. Tell us a little bit about we already heard how you met Brianna, but how did you get involved with Friends of Israel?
Yeah, of course. My grandparents, here, hold this. My grandparents had been supporting the Friends of Israel for quite a while. So I'd heard about the Friends of Israel a little bit through that. I grew up with a good understanding of Israel and the Jewish people, and why that mattered. And then I got to go on Origins with the Friends of Israel.
Tell us
which was amazing. So Origins is a young adults program. It stands for Origins, Our Resolve is Giving Israel Never-Ending Support. It is amazing, 2.5 week trip, and you just get to come and see the land and really interact with the Jewish people in the land. And I learned so much. It really was a blessing to me, and I learned more about the Friends of Israel through that as well.
You took a few of our free opportunities.
Free.
What were some of the things you did?
Yes, it was such a privilege. Yeah, so then, on the trip?
Well,
or just in general?
The programs that we have.
Bridges. I was able to take Bridges. I've done some FOI Equip Classes as well. So I did that kind of through the summer as I was learning more about Friends of Israel, and then I started in the fall in September. And the way the Lord orchestrated it was honestly amazing. I started school at a university. to Western University in Ontario.
Your major is
Business and law.
business and
Yeah.
law. Very Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started at that school after starting with the Friends of Israel a little bit, and there's actually a large population of Jewish students on the campus. And a month later, October 7 happened and just really changed the whole dynamic on the campus. And I had no idea that it would end up being as intense as it was, and that I would have as many opportunities to stand with the Jewish people. And
You saw a lot of anti-Semitism on your college campus.
yeah, 100%. Following October 7, things just got really intense. There were a lot of protests. There were times where Jewish people didn't feel safe in certain situations.
Tell our listeners the story you told me this afternoon.
Yeah.
I think that really puts things in perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was talking with a Jewish friend, and she attends the school that I go to, and she was telling me how she has experienced some anti-Semitism on campus and just explaining what that looked like. And she had a certain experience where someone in her dorm knew that she was Jewish, and she had some comments and things like that about it, and she tried not to really think anything of it. But one time when she was coming home to her dorm room, someone would stand across the hall and just stand there with a knife and just look at her when she would come home, just to intimidate her. So there's a lot of things like that, and unless you're on the campus and
How
in
was
the
she?
Jewish,
I'm just thinking, if that happened, to me,
Yeah.
I'd say I'm not going back home at all.
Yeah.
How did she handle that?
yeah, she ended up going to the powers at school and worked it out, and I believe they moved that resident. But it's insane when you think about that, that actually can happen unless you're on the school and in the Jewish community, or you are Jewish and experience those things. It's hard to really know what's going on in those environments.
Do you think being involved with Friends of Israel gave you a better awareness of what's going on, a greater sensitivity to the anti-Semitism that was creeping up on the college campus, especially yours at Western?
100%. More awareness, more of, I feel, privilege in being able to do what I do, and to stand with the Jewish people, and also more compassion for them, more of an understanding of what they're going through, what God's plans are for them, and also the opportunities to reach out to churches and encourage them to stand with the Jewish people as well.
So what has stood out for you here on your first trip? Well, it's actually not your first trip. You went on Oregon.
No, yes, I've been a few times.
As
but
this tour goes.
This trip has been amazing. Honestly, it's been really cool to be with a group of pastors and hear from them also about their churches, and see that there are other churches that support Israel and they're praying for Israel, and they're really taking stands that are not necessarily politically correct in their support of Israel and the Jewish people. So that's been encouraging. But then also just as far as being in the land, I don't know, this whole region, being around the Sea of Galilee the last couple of days has been really special, and just reconnecting with my relationship with the Lord and just really soaking it all in. We did a hike today. That was probably my highlight so far.
Okay, great.
So,
Where
yeah.
did they go, Chris? What was this hike they went on?
I
didn't go on.
What, the hike today?
Arbel.
Oh yeah, Arbel. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Cool.
climbed up Mount Arbel, and then we hiked down Mount Arbel, and we went, through a snake path on the way down. That was a great experience.
Yeah, the history, so many layers. It was incredible.
Well, and then Steve has his new hip, so he couldn't get down there because it was biting. What was the word? What's the word? Barking. It was barking at you. I would like to know, you have been, hearing Tiana talk about the fact that she has, been here a few times, so she kind of knows the geography, and she, knew what to expect. But, I'm just interested, you've been supporting Israel and the Jewish people for 10 years with an actual outreach, but now you're here. How is that? Has it hit you differently? Do you see things a little bit differently, even just being here in the last 3 days?
Well, it's incredible to me how peaceful it seems as you're traveling through all these areas, and how it's crazy that just, such a short distance away, as you were talking about before, what's going on with Hamas in Lebanon. This is a multi-front war that's going on right now, and as you drive down these beautiful roads, you would almost not even know that any of that is going on until you pass hostage signs along the road, or that is very impactful, and you can see how difficult that would be on the people here.
Well, you two are our Canadian contingency. We love our Canadian contingency, so thank you so much for being on the Jew and Gentile podcast, and I'm sure we're going to have you on again. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, girls. Appreciate it. Yeah, you can give a round of applause. All right, Steve, we might have one more. Are you ready? Oh, okay, now we're set. We have
Vinster. Who's Vinster?
We have the marketing manager for Kibbutz Engev Resort with us. My wife is the marketing director for the Friends of Israel, so I know what it's like to hang out with a marketing director. So it's very nice to meet you. What's your name?
Shimrit.
Shimrit, nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
And I'm Steve. Good to meet you.
Okay, so we would like to hear your thoughts on what's going on. So do you live on the kibbutz?
Yeah, I live on the kibbutz. I'm married to, my husband was born in the kibbutz. His parents are still living in the kibbutz, but I didn't born here. I born in the south of Israel, in a town called Sderot.
Yes.
Which you probably heard about.
Oh, all the time.
So you basically went, as you're experiencing what's going on, Sderot is just outside of Gaza.
Yeah.
You seem to not escape the sensitive areas of what Israel deals with on a southern border and a northern border.
Yes, indeed. I just want to tell a little bit about my experience from October 7th. First, I want to apologize for my English. I'm not an English native speaker.
Your English is better than our Hebrew, so don't worry about it.
I'm telling you, I love Israelis. You know why? I'm sorry for my English. I'm having this full conversation with you. I'm using amazing words, and my English is horrible. And I'm like, shalom.
You're fine. You're fine.
So for me, October 7 was, as for every Israeli, it touched every one of us. So for me, I was like in both places in one time. My heart was in the south, my friends and my family and everyone around the Gaza area. And I was here. And when the missile started, 6:30 in the morning, I was awake because I have the alarm from Sderot, and I was starting to worry. And after 1 hour, we realized that this is not an usual situation and it's going to be very serious. So I came here 8 o'clock in the morning and starting to deal with the group that we had that's supposed to came at the same day in the evening. I had a group in Munich which already checked in their luggage in the airport in Munich, and we connected with the agents to tell them not to go on the plane, just stay in Munich. The luggage will be okay, but don't come here because we don't know yet what is going to be. So I came here, and at the first 3 hours I was just here working with groups in Israel that I had a group here that we didn't want them to go to another place because we felt here in Engev that this is a safe zone. We always felt safe here. So we told them to stay here. We will have some room for them. And then there was another group that was in Jerusalem, and they were starting to be worried. We told them to come here so we can host them here so they can feel safe until they have flight home. So in the first 3 hours, I was around here trying to do the best to understand the situation, to take care of our guests here that's supposed to come, that was here or around Israel. And
were you getting TV and radio updates? Was the news?
Time. And also see what's going on in Sderot. There was some Hamas terrorists going around in the town with some white tenders. Told my parents to stay at home, talking to my aunts, my families. So it was like both ways. My sister, she came to the holiday. It was a Sukkot holiday. She came to stay with me in the kibbutz. And she realized from the telegram that her friends from the kibbutz was kidnapped. Her friends are the Bibas family.
Really?
Her husband is from the same kibbutz of Yarden Bibas, and they just saw on the telegram that there was kidnapped. And another friend was calling my sister and told her that she didn't call. She was WhatsApp texting that her husband went to defend their kibbutz in Kfar Aza, and he was shot and he's wounded and he needs help. And that she wrote in the WhatsApp to everyone, whoever, if someone can get help, if someone can call the army to come. It was very, very intense day. And and I was like here and in the kibbutz and with the family, and everything was mixed up. And October 8th, we were here, all the staff decided to open our resort free of charge for 1 week to every Israeli that want to come from the north border, from the south border, whoever didn't feel safe in their heart to come here. It was a safe zone, and we will host them with no charge.
Were you booked at that point? Like, did they come and take up all?
We were booked with the many incoming group, but the group we know that they didn't supposed to come, and everything was changing. So we decided, please come and we'll see what's going on.
How many people came?
It was full. We didn't have even one room left. It was full in a few hours. It was just spreading around the news, and it was full. And I was getting phone to my cellular, my private cellular, until midnight. We can come, please. I'm a family. I'm pregnant. I talked to a pregnant woman in October 8th that asked to come here. She couldn't come the same day. She asked to reserve a room for her for the next day. And she touched my heart. So I reserved the room. They came here. They stayed here a few months. She was had her baby here.
Amazing.
And yes, we are really in good connection now, and they are still here until now. 1 year and 4 months already.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, Corona killed the tourist industry.
Yes.
And I came here March 2023, and it was busy.
Yeah, full.
It was busy, and up until October 7th, it was busy. So I'm imagining the day October 7th came, you're not only managing a ton of guests, but you're managing your own family and what's going on Sderot. I can't believe how could you balance both things at the same time?
It was, for me, to be busy, it was the best thing I could do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was begging my parents to come here October 7th. They said they are not going out of their house. And October 8th in the morning, I talked to them, trying to convince them to come. And there was like, maybe tomorrow we will come. We will see what will going on. And then 1 hour later, one missile hurt the house of my aunt. So I told them, take my aunt and the two of you, and please come here by the car. If you're not coming, I'm coming to take you. So you should better go in the car and come here. Otherwise, I'm on my way to your place. And they did. They came here October 8th in the afternoon, and they stayed here five weeks. And it was strange for me because they didn't stay with me. So they always come for 2 nights, 3 nights, only for the holiday to visit here. And they stayed here, and they were here in the holiday resort, and also with my kids, because I was here almost all the time, taking care. We wasn't our place. We didn't host. We weren't regular. We didn't know how to handle the guests that came here. There wasn't a regular guest. There was refugees, and it's been different to talk to them, to take care of them. We need the dining room to be able to feed them for 3 meals a day and to take care of all their needs. So I was busy with this all the time.
You know, I just want to ask one more thing. We were on our tour bus, and it was the very first day. And this is my second time being back since October 7th. And our tour guide said something interesting, and it was that Hamas is looking for the win, but Israelis know no matter what happens, they've lost. They've lost so much. And it's just the difference of mentality between what's going on in Hamas and what's going on in Israel. There's no win to this situation. Could you, that's our tour guide speaking. I'd like to hear from you. Do you agree with that? And do you want to add anything to that?
I totally agree with that. And we say a lot of times here in Israel that we אנחנו מקדשים את החיים. We take care about the life, not about the death. So every loss of October 7, we lose everything. We already lost. We lost so many friends, so many family. I think there is not even one Israeli that don't know someone from October 7 that was hurt, killed, kidnapped, that was damaged by this situation. We really don't feel that we want to continue the war. We are looking for peace in this area. I have nothing against the people of Gaza. I just want a peace in this area. I want them to live in peace, in prosperity. I want for them to have a good life as much as I want for us to have a good life. I think it will work the best if everyone will realize this is the situation and to make the best of it. We are neighbors. We'll be like this forever. They are not going to anywhere. We are not going to no other place. So we need to live together.
We want you to know that Friends of Israel, that's the group we're with, has been around quite a bit, 86 years. And we have a fund that our donors contribute to, and it's called the Israel Relief Fund. And through the years, we've helped in lots of different ways. And when Chris and I were here in September, we donated blood at Magin David Adam, donated to the Lone Soldier Fund. And look, you're the one that is going through all these difficult things. The people in America, especially the evangelicals in America, want you to know, and let them know from just this little podcast that they care. They really are. We care.
We feel it. We feel it all the time. And for me, as a marketing manager, I'm in touch with a lot of agents for a tour leader, a lot of people from abroad, and we're getting a lot of support. And we feel the love of the people to Israel. And I speak today only because I wanted to tell to the podcast listeners that they are welcome. They are welcome to Israel. I feel it's safe to be here, and you're welcome to the north of Israel, to Engev. It's a beautiful place. We have a beautiful country with a beautiful people, and you're all welcome to come to Israel and to support
Once
us.
a marketer, always a marketer. Good for you. Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Chris, this has probably been the best podcast because we've talked the least amount.
That's right. That's right. I'd like to hear from really quick. Do y'all feel safe here? Yeah. We've been in a very sensitive area up in the north. You and I took the whole group and we went all the way up to we were only a few hundred meters from the Syrian border, from the Lebanon border. So we went up there.
We even heard a few kabooms.
Yeah, we did hear a kaboom or two. That's right. We went to the Valley of Tears where the 1973 Yom Kippur War was prevented from happening. Actually, it happened. They just protected the rest of the country. That's exactly right. Steve, today we actually went to, I just want to read this really quick. We went to the Sermon on the Mount, the place of the Beatitudes. And I thought I would read them because as I was hearing everybody, the Israelis talking about what they're going through, it's a state of humility. Like you're humbled in this moment. It's a humbling moment to leave your home. You could hear, I just want to go home. I want
peace.
Yeah, I want to bake brownies in my home. I want peace. I want people to come back and I want them to enjoy the land. But, I'm living in a hotel right now, or I'm waiting for this moment to change. And that can force you to think outside of what your normal routine is. And I just want to read the Beatitudes really quick because I think it shares the heart of what's going on here and the attitude that we should have even. And it's Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 3. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, because there are those who are mourning right now, especially as the hostages are coming out, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And you heard that even earlier when she said, I just want peace. I just want peace. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And that was spoken just not too far from where we're sitting right now.
Well, Chris, I've been struck by going around the Sea of Galilee, talking about the Messiah of Israel and how even during a difficult time in Israel's past, and with Rome dominating, he was giving a message of hope. And because of what he has done, we are able to feel that hope, even in the situation that Israel is in. We have a message. It's not us, but we have a message of hope, and it's contained in the Word of God. And that's the reason we invited the leaders to come, to give them a perspective of Israel firsthand, that they've been reading about it, and when they go back, they'll be able to impart messages of hope as well. So it's exciting.
It's very exciting. Do you remember the Yiddish word of the day?
I do remember.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to move into the Yiddish word of the day, everybody. Yiddish word of the day. We were sitting down to dinner tonight, and I think I was on my second plate of food, Steve. I think it was like my third or fourth piece of chicken.
That chicken was amazing.
It was dripping all over.
Amazing.
Moran had come over, and she was talking with us, and I know I had like grease coming down my chin because I was eating so much chicken.
Like a priest with the oil coming down from your beard.
It just was stuck in there. I was embarrassed. And then what came to mind as we were looking for the Yiddish word was something of being kind of fat. Because I'm fat on a lot right now, okay? I'm eating a lot of great food. I'm enjoying a lot of great company. I'm experiencing so many great things. So we have a great Yiddish word, I think.
We do have a great Yiddish word. It's called Zaftig.
Zaftig. What's Zaftig?
Zaftig is big. Zaftig is plump. Zaftig, it's just.
I'm a little Zaftig right now, right here.
Hey, all middle-aged men are Zaftig in the middle. We're Zaftig. We're big.
One of my favorite things to do is I'll talk with an Israeli and he'll say, "Do you want to eat this?" And I go, "No, too much shemen, which is like fat right here." Well, now I'm saying the Yiddish word, which is Zaftig. Zaftig is our Yiddish word of the day. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being a part of the Jew and Gentile podcast. We are excited about what we're doing here in Israel, but we want you to be a part of it as well. And you can go to foiequip.org. You can sign up for our Yiddish Journey class. It's coming up this February with the Bergs from Pittsburgh.
And what about our stickers, Chris?
Oh, all you got to do is text us at 424-1948, and there you can get 50 free stickers for supporting Israel and the Jewish people. That's 424-444-1948. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.